Days after placing the Indus Water Treaty into abeyance to punish Pakistan over the Pahalgam terror attack, India has now restricted the flow of the Baglihar and Salal, in fact restricted water through the Baglihar and Salal dams. This is on the Chenab river, and India is also planning similar measures at the Kishanganga Dam on the Jhelum river is what sources have said. Let's go across to Nazir now for more on this. And Nazir, this is the latest in a series of actions that India has been taking against Pakistan ever since the Pahalgam attack. Give us more details of this latest action.
Well, it was a temporary measure and water has been released now. But this is a huge warning to Pakistan what it means when India will stop water. Though it is going to take a long time. Let me explain to our viewers what it means, why India can stop water or it may not be able to stop water, and what it means to Pakistan. Pakistan gets its entire water, river system from Kashmir. It is whether it is Chenab, Indus or Jhelum. I am on the banks of Jhelum here. So from Chenab river in these times they get around in the yearly 27 million acres of water Pakistan. We have this Baglihar Dam, we have Salal Dam and some other, these are run of the river projects are also coming up. But we have a storage limitation. For example, Baglihar project, which is generating its phase 1 and phase 2, is generating 900 megawatts of electricity. But it can store only what 3 lakh million acres, 3 lakh acres, acre feet of water. Whereas Pakistan receives around 27 million acre of water from this Chenab river alone. So if you want to stop the water and decrease the flow of the water, you have to raise the height of the dam. But it has its own cost because many areas will be submerged, there would be ecological costs as well. So it needs a lot of thinking and the research and the work of years together. And then you have, for example, Kishanganga river, which has come up in this project in Gurez, which has also stopped water, can stop water, but which means you have to raise the level of the dam, that barrage.
So Nazir, these are just temporary measures. Nazir, as you're describing it, these are just some temporary measures one can take. As you said, it's run of the river projects, which means there's no capacity to really store up that water. So we can't really stop that water for a very long period of time.
Exactly. For example, for yesterday, this water was stopped at Baglihar project. Dam was filled, as I said earlier, what is its capacity? 3 lakh acre feet. And then it has been released today. At around 10, water has been properly released. But what is the challenge for Pakistan? Normally under Indus Water Treaty, there was a real-time information to Pakistan. We are stopping, we are releasing. If there are more rains, they are being informed so that they will prepare themselves accordingly. But after India suspended Indus Water Treaty, so India is not obliged to inform Pakistan. For example, last week India released water when there were heavy rains in Ramban, there were cloud bursts. Pakistan was taken by surprise and for example yesterday water was stopped temporarily and no intimation was given to them. So that is their worry, that water could be much serious challenge to them than even war or the weapons. So water is much serious threat to Pakistan than jets and the guns, because they are fearing that it could be a strategic weapon. During less water it can be they can suffer drought, and even during the rains they can be flooded as well. So that is the thing, but permanently stopping water in this river system is not possible. Let me show you, for example, Jhelum river here.
Right.
Jhelum river has a very low gradient, which means it doesn't have much slope. From Srinagar to Valur barrage, if you see, it is like more than 55 kilometers. But there's only a gradient of 20 feet, which means if you just raise the level of barrage of 3-meter barrage at Valur barrage, Srinagar can push back and it may face the floods, and many low-lying areas may be submerged. So it's not an easy thing to do. But what India has done, that by suspending Indus Water Treaty, it's a huge threat to Pakistan. They are saying if they try to divert, it will be an act of war and we'll react. So the water is first before India fires first blood. The water is becoming a big threat to Pakistan, big challenge. The water wars here is actually escalating as India temporarily stopped water at Baglihar, which has now been released because we can't store more water than over 300 lakh, 3 lakh acre feet at the Baglihar Dam.
Right, Nazir, and just, very briefly, there are reports that desilting operations were carried out to, this is to increase the capacity. As you said, we cannot restrict the water flow for too long because these are not those type of dams. The reservoir is not that big, but there were desilting actions also taken so as to increase the capacity. So this is just something through which we can, trouble Pakistan by restricting water every now and then.
Well, desilting, if you say, has been going on all along, whether it is the Baglihar Dam, whether it is Salal or it is the Wular Lake. Desilting is something which is an ongoing process because a lot of silt comes during the rains and the floods, then you have to clear that. But this is something which is a much serious challenge to Pakistan. When something is done, you stop without intimation. Normally under Indus Water Treaty, they had to be, informed, whatever, whether you release the water or you stop the water. But if you want to actually punish them, you have to raise the level of these dams.
That's right, and that would be a very, long-term sort of action. But Nazir, moving on to more news from Jammu and Kashmir, and as we've been talking about the firing along the line of control and the international border during the night of May 4th and 5th, Pakistani Army posts once again opened unprovoked small arms fire across multiple sectors, including Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri, Mendhar, Naushera, Sundarbani, and Akhnur. Indian Army, of course, responding promptly. Well, let's go back to Nazir on this. And Nazir, this is something we've been seeing consistently. It's the 11th night of firing along the LOC and international border. In fact, we can't even call it ceasefire violation because that issue is, been put aside. And we've been seeing this consistent firing also focused on the Jammu area.
Well, Gargi, there's essentially no ceasefire. We could have called it a ceasefire violation if it had happened once or twice or it was an aberration. But for the last 11 nights, there are continuous violations or the firing from Pakistan, what Army has said, not at just one sector. For example, last night it was at 8 sectors on the both sides of the Pir Panjal mountains from Kupwara right up to Akhnur in Jammu region. So you see almost 600 kilometers of LOC was active during the night and there was firing going on. Fortunately, no heavy weapons or the artillery was used, and it is small weapons which are being used, and India has responded in equal measure proportionately what Army is saying. But clearly these are clouds of war and uncertainty for the people living near the border who have been living somewhat in a relative peace since last 4 years, since February 2021, when India and Pakistan renewed ceasefire along the line of control, and since then people would go normally for the farming and for their day-to-day, go out for their day-to-day activities. In fact, what we are hearing from some border areas that people are harvesting their crop prematurely because they fear something horrible is going to happen. India has already said they will take action, and armed force have been given the full freedom by the Prime Minister to take action. And yesterday Defence Minister has said what people want, the desire of the people will be fulfilled, which means people have been saying that there has to be action, and the government has reiterated its commitment that they will take action not against the terrorists but also their handlers across the border.
That's right, Nazir. And Nazir, as we await whatever action the government does decide, of course, we have to tell our viewers that a series of actions have been taken as far as Pakistan is concerned. We've spoke about the water issue, trade as well as, reaching out to the international community. But if we talk about this fighting that we've seen consistently for the last 11 days, as we told our viewers, this is small arms fire. And that is, something that we've seen throughout so far. It's been contained at small arm fire. If you could explain that to us.
Well, the fact is that it is still small arms firing, and fortunately in last 11 days there's no report of any damage. So which means that both sides are exercising caution. In fact, the army is saying it is Pakistan's unprovoked firing. Having said that, but the both sides has not escalated it, though it is the escalating spiral when we see it has spread from one area to other area in between. Even international border in Jammu was also affected. But the way we have seen even before this Pahalgam massacre, There were, some ceasefire violations, but both the sides would resolve it through flag meeting and normal the contact which was between India and Pakistan army. In between, both the DGMOs also, after talked, and India warned Pakistan that if it is going to continue with this, there would be the consequences. But it is something what we see in the line of control, what people were expecting, that India is going to react now after Pahalgam massacre, and there would be military action. Before that, we see Pakistan repeatedly resorting to firing along the line of control, which has made people vulnerable. Perhaps they are trying to send a message, we are ready for any escalation. But we all know that they have been also talking about that, there should be probe of, Pahalgam massacre. We are not involved, that there be international probe. They are also going to the United Nations asking for de-escalation and all that. The fact is that they are shattered, particularly not just what is happening on the border and they may fear the India's military action against Pakistan, but also what the India has already taken the punitive actions against Pakistan, diplomatic as well as economic action, including Indus Water Treaty, suspending Indus Water Treaty, stopping all types of, imports from Pakistan, anything which is even in the transit through Pakistan, to ensure that Pakistan doesn't get even those transit charges from other countries like Afghanistan.